Throughout countless myths and legends, there has always been a presence, dreaded, destructive, and feared. A symbol of evil, a name whispered in terror, a figure who brings disaster, chaos, and despair. The Demon King. Feared as a force that threatened the world itself, the Demon King appeared again and again in stories, corrupting kingdoms, destroying lives, and plunging entire civilizations into ruin. And in nearly all of those tales, the gods had only one response: summon a hero. From distant lands or foreign worlds, these chosen champions were armed with divine blessings, entrusted with sacred weapons, and tasked with a singular purpose: to vanquish evil and restore the light. So, what voice echoed in the midst of the void? Am I the unlucky one who got chosen? It was only fitting that another voice replied. You could think of it that way. The exchange took place in a strange, sacred temple, plain and pristine, lacking grandeur, yet humming with divine presence. No ornate decorations, no dazzling lights. Only white stone, eternal silence, and two figures standing within it. One of them stood at the heart of the space, an ethereal being who seemed almost too beautiful to be real. She was the goddess. That was the only word that came to mind, for nothing else could describe her. Silver hair flowed down her back like liquid moonlight, trailing past her knees and glimmering softly despite the absence of wind or flame. Her eyes shone a deep, unearthly blue, like distant oceans or forgotten stars. Barefoot, clad in a radiant white gown, she stood with serene grace, her figure flawless, her presence divine. Even the other figure, a half-translucent silhouette floating midair, couldn't help but stare at her in awe. For a moment, he forgot to question why he was here. Then the goddess spoke. "Let's not waste time. I'll be direct." And just like that, his second life began. "You've already died," she said plainly, "but I have a task for you. I want you to come to my world, to a realm of sword and magic called Omnipotensin, and defeat the Demon King. In return, I shall resurrect you and make you a hero." The words didn't make sense at first. Goddess? Demon King? Otherworld? Hero? These were fantasy cliches, terms he knew from games, anime, and books. But hearing them applied to him, that was something else entirely. He didn't know how long it took him to process it. Only one thing was certain. I don't really have a choice, do I? If he was truly dead, as she claimed, then turning her down meant disappearing forever. Eternal nothingness. He hesitated only once. There was something odd. He didn't remember dying. In fact, he didn't remember anything about his past life. And when he asked why, the goddess explained gently, once a human dies, their existence begins to fade, memories, identity, everything. The only reason you even remain here in this form is because I needed you. I restored only your basic common sense to help you navigate what's to come. She didn't erase his past, death did, and she didn't offer to restore it either. Because, as she said, if you choose to accept this mission, your past will only be a hindrance. Attachments, knowledge, even technology. I did not want your former world influencing mine. So no matter what, his past would remain forgotten. But strangely, he felt no sorrow. With nothing to remember, there was nothing to miss. In truth, he was being offered something most never get, a second chance. A new life. That's enough, the goddess said at last, her celestial voice echoing softly across the temple. It seems you've made your decision. She reached out with one flawless hand, and the moment her fingers moved, a blinding light burst forth from his body. It was like sunlight and starlight combined, warm, dazzling, and impossibly vast. Within that brilliance, a radiant sword emerged, forming from within his very essence. "You shall be called Shane," the goddess declared. "In the name of the divine, I grant you life once more. Do not disappoint me, my hero, whom I have waited 1,000 years for." And with those final words, both the boy and the blade vanished from the temple, summoned to a new world. The goddess lowered her hand, but her eyes lingered on the empty space. "Such a strong light," she murmured. "I hope you will be the one to fulfill my long-cherished wish." Then she closed her eyes. Silence returned to the temple. And thus, the story of a nameless boy reborn as a hero in a world on the edge of ruin began. When Shane finally regained consciousness, he found himself standing on solid ground. Is this the other world? His voice barely rose above a whisper. The question meant more for himself than anyone else. Before him stretched an endless expanse of emerald green, a dense, ancient forest bathed in gentle sunlight filtering through the canopy. Trees with massive trunks loomed over him, their roots sprawling like serpents across the mossy floor. Strange, vibrant plants bloomed in every direction, unfamiliar to any he could name. And yet, despite the beauty, the silence was unnerving. No birdsong, no rustling of animals, no chirping insects, only a heavy, stifling stillness, as if the very forest was holding its breath, watching him. Did I land in a dangerous zone already? Shane muttered, glancing warily at his surroundings. It wasn't the welcome he had expected, though the memories of the goddess's temple were still fresh in his mind. Being dropped into an entirely unfamiliar world without guidance, context, or any clue of what to do next was disorienting. But he remained calm, because unlike most people, Shane had one advantage, an innate ability to accept the absurd. Maybe it was something left over from his past life, or maybe it came from the experience of dying and being reborn. Either way, Shane didn't panic. He adapted. I guess this kind of reaction says a lot about who I used to be or who I'm becoming. He gave a dry chuckle until a strange weight in his hand made him pause. Looking down, his eyes widened. A sword. No ordinary blade. It radiated a holy light, warm and almost sentient. Its golden hilt shimmered with divine energy, a gem embedded at the pommel pulsing with light. The blade itself was pristine white, almost translucent, like it had been forged from sunlight itself. It was massive, meant to be wielded with both hands. A great sword in every sense. And even though he didn't know how to use it, Shane felt something strange stir within him as he held it, as if the sword was him, or he was part of it. Suddenly, glowing text flooded his vision like a heads-up display. Holy Sword, exclusive to Shane. Level plus 100. All skill levels plus 10. Reduces all damage by 99%. Grants immunity to all negative statuses. Maximum sharpness and durability. Deals massive damage to evil-aligned entities. Purifies and repels dark energy. Bound. Cannot be discarded, transferred, destroyed, or altered. You gotta be kidding me. It was the kind of weapon that would instantly break any game's balance. Shane might not know how this world worked yet, but even he could tell this sword was insane. And then, more data streamed into his mind. Status screens. 2 tabs. Level and skills. Shane focused on the first. Level 1. I guess I'm still a newbie, he muttered. Then came the skills. There were 2 currently listed. Heaven's Grace. Unique skill. All attributes max out on level up. Gain maximum skill points per level. Skill acquisition and upgrade conditions are minimized. Permanently active and cannot be negated. Supreme God's Blessing, special skill. Grants divine protection. All conditions for growth are met. Immune to all interference. Divine duties become absolute. All effects are enhanced. What kind of cheat setup is this? Even without knowing the power levels of this world, Shane could tell this wasn't normal. It was absurd. Ridiculous, even. If he had seen this in a game, he would have assumed the devs had lost their minds. Which left him with one troubling possibility. Wait, does the goddess expect me to defeat the Demon King as a level 1? The idea left him speechless. He shook his head. No, don't think about that right now. One step at a time. After all, before slaying any Demon King, he had to figure out where he was and how to get out. Looking around, Shane took in the forest again. He gauged the sun's position, climbed a nearby tree, and scanned the horizon. After a moment, he spotted a distant ridge and chose that as his heading. With the holy sword in hand, he began hacking a path through the dense foliage. Despite its immense power, the sword was surprisingly light, almost guiding itself with every swing. What Shane didn't realize was that as he cut through the forest, a shadow was watching from above. Far above the canopy, a dark figure circled. Its eyes gleamed with a predatory light, locked onto the lone traveler below. Malice shimmered in the air. The forest had been silent for a reason. Something was waiting, watching, and now it had found its prey.
Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
Shane wondered whether it was currently summer. Not only was the sunlight incredibly intense, but the temperature was also quite high. As he trudged through the forest, wielding the holy sword to slash away the obstructive weeds and branches around him, he found himself panting and drenched in sweat without realizing it. So hot. Shane groaned wearily, but he did not stop and continued on his way. Because, as he ventured deeper into the forest, Shane increasingly sensed the danger. I can't hear any sound from birds or beasts. Shane had a bad feeling, prompting him to want to leave this place quickly, especially as that bad feeling intensified, reaching a level that gradually made Shane uneasy. Then, at a certain moment, a message suddenly appeared in Shane's mind. Skill acquired. Enemy detection. Do you wish to learn it? Shane was momentarily taken aback. Just like that, a new skill is acquired. Surprisingly, Shane immediately chose to learn it without hesitation. At that instant, the previous bad feeling seemed to transform into a definite warning, surging into Shane's mind. He only felt a headache and a chill down his spine. Suddenly, sensing something, he spun around swiftly and looked into the air. Swish! The sound of something swiftly piercing through the air suddenly assailed him. Bang! The dull thud resounded like an explosion. Shane felt as if he had been struck by a heavy mountain. He couldn't even grunt as he was sent flying, crashing into a tree's trunk like a cannonball, causing the tree to snap apart. Ugh! Only then did Shane feel a dull pain in his chest, which made him cry out. Skill acquired. Physical resistance. Do you wish to learn it? As a new message surged into his mind, Shane remained bewildered. What happened? What was that? Did I get attacked? Shane did not comprehend what had transpired as he slid down the tree trunk onto the ground. Miraculously, although the attack was strong enough to send him flying and crack a tree, Shane was not severely harmed. He only felt a little pressure in his chest. By the time Shane reacted, perhaps due to the enemy detection skill's effect, he finally disowned the location of the source attacking him, prompting him to quickly get up from the ground, looking around. What he saw made Shane freeze. Before him appeared a scene surpassing reality. Screech! A sinister cry filled the forest's canopy, hovering for a long time. A gigantic black shadow descended from the sky, appearing before Shane. It was a bird entirely black, with a serpent's body, bird wings, and a human face. Its size was enormous, its wingspan 10 meters wide, appearing extremely bizarre and evil. It seemed this massive, ominous bird had attacked Shane from the sky, sending him flying. Now, the fierce bird stared intently at Shane with bloodshot eyes, telling him it did not intend to let its prey escape. Huh? Shane couldn't help but laugh. He couldn't help it. Is this some kind of joke? After meeting the goddess and being reincarnated in the other world, alone and thrown into the forest, did he immediately encounter the attack of a bizarre demon? This development, it's so cliché. Screech! Shane's curse and the bird's cry erupted simultaneously. Immediately, the fierce bird once again transformed into a black shadow, soaring through the air toward Shane. Shane felt the enemy detection, skill urgently signaling a warning, prompting him to roll aside without thinking or caring about his dignity. Bang! The dull thud resounded once more. The tree Shane had just crashed and was shattered by the fierce bird, scattering bits of wood flying in all directions. Skill acquired. Evasion. Do you wish to learn it? Rolling on the ground awkwardly, Shane received a new mental message. Learn. Learn. He didn't need to think. Shane was frantically agreeing. In this moment of crisis, this skill was definitely for saving his life. Without overthinking, Shane quickly learned both the physical resistance skill he just acquired and the evasion skill he gained now. Screech! Elsewhere, the fierce bird that shattered the tree soared back into the air. As if infuriated by its failed attack and Shane's resistance, it screeched and then spewed lightning in Shane's direction. The lightning seemed to scorch his eyeballs, causing Shane, who had just gotten up, to see only white as he was hit instantly. Boom! The lightning struck Shane's location, causing an explosion and blasting Shane, sending him rolling out like a gourd. Skill acquired, magic resistance. Do you wish to learn it? Yet another new skill was acquired. Cough. Rolling like a gourd, Shane coughed violently. Still, as before, he unhesitatingly learned the new skill. Once again, despite being struck directly by the lightning, Shane wasn't gravely harmed. He only felt immense pain throughout his body. By this point, Shane more or less understood what was happening. Is this the power of the holy sword? Covered in dust, Shane lay on the ground. His gaze shifted to the holy sword he still held tightly. The holy sword, as it did initially, glowed with dazzling luminescence and brilliant colors. Since the holy sword had the effect of reducing any type of damage by 99%, it made sense Shane remained mostly unscathed thus far. Screech! Screech! The fierce bird in the air was unaware of all this, seeing Shane lying on the ground, appearing on the verge of death, but actually not having lost a drop of blood. It cried out in fury. Presumably, it hadn't expected that its prey, which it had discovered with so much effort, hadn't been taken down yet. Consequently, the bird dove down, as if determined to finally deal with Shane, its entire body emanating fierce waves. Witnessing this unfold, Shane's heart ignited with a fighting spirit. Don't think I won't counterattack. Facing the ominous figure descending from the sky like a nightmare, Shane grasped the holy sword tightly, struggling to his feet unsteadily. Zing! The previously calm radiance on the magnificent holy sword suddenly intensified, shining brilliantly. An incredible power flowed from the holy sword into Shane's body. Shane then lifted the holy sword, aiming at the menacing figure in the sky. Then, skill acquired, two-handed sword. Do you wish to learn it? Without question, Shane chose to learn it. Even though Shane no longer had memories of his past life, he was still clear that before reincarnation, he was an ordinary person completely unrelated to the act of combat. At least based on the remaining memories in his mind, Shane could deduce that in his past life, he likely lived in a very peaceful era, was born in a very peaceful country, and had probably never even experienced fights, let alone battles. To make such a Shane fight against fierce demons of the other world, no matter what, there was no chance of victory in sight. However, from the moment Shane raised the holy sword in his hand and began learning each skill, everything was destined to change. Guhg! The screech of a vicious bird still echoed in his ear. Clang! The holy sword in his hand continued to glow brilliantly. Feeling the overwhelming power coursing into his body from the holy sword, Shane inexplicably calmed down. Time around seemed to start slowing down. The speed of the diving, vicious bird that carried a ferocious aura also seemed to slow. The enemy detection skill sent out clearer and sharper alarms, allowing Shane to grasp the speed and position of the demon descending from above. The evasion skill seemed to stimulate Shane's instincts, making his body seem naturally aware of the optimal speed, movement, timing, and direction for dodging. And the newly learned two-handed sword skill caused countless methods and techniques for using the holy sword to flood Shane's mind, giving him a feeling. That was a sense that he could use the holy sword in his hand perfectly to slay the enemy before him. Hence, swish! Just as the diving vicious bird was about to crash into Shane, he moved as if blessed by gods, following the prompts of the evasion skill. With a faint whooshing sound, he instantly dashed to the left, creating a distance. The vicious bird barely grazed the position Shane had been a second earlier, its wing almost slicing past Shane's face as he dashed to the left, stirring up a gust. However, in the instant the vicious bird's assault missed, Shane moved again before it could flee. This time, it was the holy sword in his tightly clenched hand that moved. Clang! The holy sword emitted a clear hum as it sliced through the air, like a dazzling arc of light, slicing toward the vicious bird that couldn't react in time at incredible speed. Slash! In the next moment, a crisp and decisive cutting sound rang out, and large splatters of blood sprayed forth. The vicious bird didn't even have time to scream before being decapitated, its human-like head flying into the air while its huge body crashed into the ground with inertia, dragging along, stirring dust, and dyeing the ground a horrifying blood red. Shane, standing at close range, was drenched in blood, maintaining his slashing posture, breathing heavily, and his body trembling. Skill acquired, military god. Do you wish to learn it? In Shane's mind, new information emerged again. But this time, Shane couldn't bring himself to learn it immediately. Feeling the lingering warmth from the copious blood on his body, smelling the overwhelming stench of blood, Shane couldn't help but bend over and vomit violently. This bout of vomiting left Shane pale, weak all over, his heart racing like never before, ultimately leading him to collapse on the ground, unable to even grip the holy sword, appearing utterly disgraced and weak. Shane could only struggle to strip off his blood-soaked clothes and throw them aside until the overwhelming stench of blood faded away, and his complexion improved slightly. This is definitely not something humans should do. Shane couldn't help but curse again. If possible, Shane really wanted to ask those protagonists in online novels who could slay humans and demons in other worlds without a change in expression how they managed to do it. Not to mention other things, just this burning hot blood staining his body, the overwhelming stench of blood. Shane just couldn't believe anyone could endure it without flinching on their first experience. Maybe I'm not the protagonist. Shane could only smile wryly, but he dared not lie here any longer. The appearance of the vicious bird told Shane that this forest was not safe at all. Various dangers could appear at any time, especially when using the holy sword earlier. Perhaps it was due to the effect of the sword enhancing skill levels. Shane's enemy detection skills range expanded significantly, making him sense many other fierce presences similar to the vicious bird. Now, because he released the holy sword, the range and effect of Shane's enemy detection skill diminished, no longer sensing any other threats, but that seemed only to apply within 100 meters radius. Earlier, when the enemy detection skill was enhanced by the holy sword, Shane sensed more than a kilometer radius and noticed many presences similar to the vicious bird, some even more dangerous. Thus, this place was truly not suitable to linger. Might as well leave this forest quickly. Shane got up and picked up the holy sword that had fallen to the ground. As soon as the holy sword was picked up, the effect of Shane's enemy detection skill expanded again, making him feel the demons existing within a kilometer radius once more. This confirmed Shane's previous thought that his skills were all upgraded due to the holy sword's effect. After briefly checking his status, Shane noticed some changes. Firstly, after that battle, Shane's level advanced from the initial level 1 to level 2. Besides that, Shane's skill points also increased from initial 100 points to 195. Seeing this, Shane thought for a moment, then immediately learned the newly acquired military god skill. Instantly, Shane's skill points decreased by 1 point. Do you have to spend a skill point every time you learn a skill? Before killing the vicious bird, Shane learned a total of 5 skills, thus consuming 5 skill points. Then, the level up granted Shane an additional 100 skill points, so his total became 195. Now, having learned a new skill, Shane's skill points decreased to 194. Moreover, Shane also discovered that every skill he learned could be leveled up, all currently at level 1. No, more accurately, all except the initial Heaven's Grace and Supreme God Blessing skills could be leveled up. No wonder the Holy Sword can enhance skill levels. Thinking of this, Shane upgraded his two-handed sword skill. As a result, after upgrading to level 10, this skill apparently maxed out, changing its display from two-handed sword, LV.1, to two-handed sword, LV max, and could no longer be enhanced. In other words, each skill that could be leveled up had a max level of 10. Furthermore, leveling up a skill required 1 skill point per level. If not mistaken, Leveling up his personal level should grant Shane an additional 100 skill points each time. So, every time I level up, I can max out 10 skills. Shane was momentarily speechless. It was evident that this was not a normal situation. Shane couldn't help but turn his gaze toward a certain skill. Without a doubt, the current situation was all because of this skill. Whether it's learning skills so easily or gaining so many skill points when leveling up, even being able to enhance skill levels so effortlessly, it's all due to the effect of this skill, right? Was it really a cheat? Shane could only think this way. And if just heaven's grace was like this, then what about the effect of supreme God's blessing? Not to mention the holy sword. Shane had already experienced how powerful it was. Recalling the astonishing power that surged into him when he used the holy sword, Shane had reason to believe that his ability to slay that fierce bird in one strike was all thanks to this sword. If the holy sword's displayed effect was accurate, then this sword not only aided Shane in reducing the damage he received and increasing skill levels, but it also had the effect of raising his own level, which was the source of that astonishing power. In comparison with these cheat-like abilities, the skills Shane acquired seemed very normal. Now, Shane could clearly see the effects of these skills. Enemy detection. Passive skill. Detects targets with hostile intent. Physical resistance. Passive skill. Reduces damage from physical attacks. Evasion. Passive skill. Improves evasion ability. Magic resistance. Passive skill. Reduces damage from magical attacks. Two-handed sword. Passive skill. Enhances mastery and attack power of two-handed swords. Military god. Passive skill. When entering combat state, depending on skill level, can exhibit a certain level of combat ability almost instinctively. Has a degree of control over battle situations and trends. Enhances combat intuition. Enhances bodily control. These were the effects of the 6 skills Shane had just acquired. Each was very practical, simple, and easy to understand, making Shane feel, well, that's normal. In this environment, any skill that could enhance his strength was extremely valuable. Therefore, Shane improved all 6 skills until they were maxed out. 6 skills, consuming a total of 60 skill points. But Shane felt it was worthwhile, because Shane could clearly feel that as the skill levels increased, the effects of these skills underwent dramatic changes. For example, even without the amplification of the Holy Sword, the enemy detection skill could detect enemies within a kilometer radius. For example, the two-handed sword skill brought more techniques and methods for wielding a two-handed sword, and also enhanced the attack power of the two-handed sword. The effects of the other skills were likewise enhanced, giving Shane the confidence that if he faced that fierce bird again, he might not even need the power of the Holy Sword to handle it. Of course, killing that fierce bird so cleanly and efficiently without the Holy Sword would definitely be difficult. Thinking of this, Shane glanced at the corpse of the fierce bird exposed in the wilderness. His head instinctively shrank, as if looking at something psychologically traumatic, almost recalling the pungent and nauseating stench of blood. I'd better get out of here quickly. Shane did not linger, taking the Holy Sword and leaving promptly. About half an hour later, new demons appeared here, seemingly attracted by the smell of blood, and they began to feast on the carcass of the fierce bird joyfully. Thus, Shane experienced his first battle in the other world, the first trial by fire in his life. Thanks to this, Shane no longer dared to wander around this forest aimlessly. Indeed, when it's time to shrink back, one must do so, and Shane did not want to waste the second life he had so painstakingly gained. Therefore, from then on, Shane became much more cautious. Had it been before, Shane would not have known what to do at this moment. If he ventured into the forest, who Who knows what demons and beasts he might encounter? If he chose to travel through open areas, he might be discovered and attacked by demons with excellent vision. Therefore, had it been before, Shane would have been in great distress, not knowing how to act. Fortunately, due to the enemy detection skill, Shane was able to detect numerous demons within a large area, allowing him to avoid them. Shane followed the positions of demons as indicated by the feedback from the enemy detection skill, successfully evading countless demons as he maneuvered through the forest. Ultimately, Shane successfully got lost without realizing it. Come to think of it, right? Wandering around like this, how can I not get lost? Watching the setting sun, with the evening light before him, Shane sat down against a tree, sighing bitterly. It seems like it's impossible to leave this forest today. Initially, Shane was unfamiliar with the terrain here and had no idea how to exit this forest. He didn't even know how large the forest was, so he wandered aimlessly like a headless fly. In this case, there was no way he could get out of this forest. Could it be that I'll just get lost in this forest? That would mean death. Even if he wasn't killed by demon attacks, he'd starve to death. Perhaps if I died again, I might have a chance to be summoned by the goddess and gain a third life. Such thoughts emerged in Shane's mind. This also showed how powerless and even desperate Shane felt about his current situation. Isn't there any skill like instant movement or flying I can learn? Entertaining such fantasies, Shane ultimately dusted himself off and stood up. He might have said those things, but Shane actually didn't want to give up. Even if he were to give up, it would be only after struggling to the very end. Right now, better think about how to spend the night in this forest. At the very least, he needed a relatively safe place to hide. Otherwise, sleeping out in the wild like this, he knew too well that by morning, he might just be a pile of bones. The sun is almost setting, better get moving. Relying on the detection of demons provided by the enemy detection skill, Shane focused on a few reactions, gritted his teeth, and moved in the direction of one of them. There was no other choice. If he wanted to find a place to hide, he'd have to rely on luck. For someone like Shane, unfamiliar with the terrain, it was certainly challenging. Given the circumstances, Shane could only head toward the locations of demons that had remained stationary. Places where demons stay and aren't willing to leave shouldn't be all that bad, right? After all, he was relying on luck, so why not aim for purposeful luck? It might achieve the goal more quickly. With this thought, Shane headed toward the locations of the demons that hadn't moved. The night had finally fallen. After the sun set, the air in the forest became increasingly heavy. It seemed that many of the demons here were nocturnal creatures, causing them to appear in every corner of the forest as soon as dusk fell and become active. Under such circumstances, it was undoubtedly more dangerous here at night than during the day. Fortunately, after sunset, Shane finally found a hideout that met his requirements. It was a cave situated at the bottom of a cliff. If it's there, I should be able to spend a night, right? Shane, hiding in the bushes at the side of the cave, looked at the scene without a hint of joy on his face. Because, no matter how I look at it, that guy doesn't seem to intend to let me go in. A closer look revealed a demon lying in front of the cave. It resembled a sturdy leopard, covered in spots, its fur pitch black, and flames flickering on its back. A demon dog. The demon dog seemed to be asleep, lying before the cave with its eyes closed, its back gently rising and falling as it breathed steadily. However, with each breath, an extraordinary heat accompanied it, causing flames to spew from the corners of its mouth, nostrils, and even its closed eyelids, looking just like a hellfire dog guarding the gates of hell, intimidating anyone who dared approach. Shane felt somewhat helpless, though I had mentally prepared myself. After all, having followed the reactions from his enemy detection skill to find this place, encountering a demon was expected. But seeing such a fierce beast appear in front of him, Shane felt a tinge of fear in his heart. Even though, according to the reactions from the enemy detection skill, this demon dog seemed weaker than the fierce bird from earlier, causing the skill's feedback reaction to be weaker. This time was different from earlier. This time, Shane had to attack rather than be attacked. Only by doing so could Shane occupy the cave and make it his hideout. Phew, Shane slowly adjusted his breathing. It's okay. With the holy sword in hand, I can't fail. Shane tightened his grip on the holy sword, encouraging himself. The opponent is weaker than the bird from earlier, and I could even defeat that bird in one hit. So there's no reason I can't do the same to this dog. This is what Shane told himself. However, this time, Shane did not intend to confront the opponent directly. Theoretically, with the Holy Sword's protection and both his level 10 physical resistance and magic resistance skills weakening any damage Shane might receive, facing the demon dog weaker than the bird from earlier, Shane should win even in a direct confrontation. But, forgive Shane, he was still someone who hadn't experienced much combat. To face such a ferocious demon head-on would be too demanding. Moreover, if he could win without any risk, why face it directly? Hence, Shane carefully lowered his breathing and footsteps, moving stealthily through the trees and bushes to hide his figure as he quietly approached. Acquired skill, concealment. Would you like to learn? At this moment, such information surged into Shane's mind. Shane was initially stunned, then quickly checked it out. Concealment. Passive skill. When in hidden, lurking, or ambush states, the skill reduces scent, breathing sounds, footsteps, and even presence to a certain extent, depending on the skill level. If the skill level is high enough, it can affect the surroundings and nearby individuals. The appearance of this skill was a timely rain. Initially, Shane worried about being discovered by the other party. No matter what, the opponent was a dog, and Shane had mentally prepared himself to be exposed due to his scent. But the appearance of concealment completely eliminated Shane's worries. Thus, Shane learned the skill without hesitation and elevated it to level 10. At this level 10, the concealment skill, enhanced further by the Holy Sword, shattered any limits. By the time Shane realized it, he had already silently and seamlessly arrived behind the demon dog. The sleeping demon dog was utterly defenseless, its entire body exposed before Shane's eyes. Immediately, Shane acted decisively. As the holy sword fell, its brilliant, sharp blade pierced straight through the demon dog's body. Oh! The demon dog let out a wretched howl, finally awakening from its deep sleep, opening a pair of eyes as red as burning flames, its entire body exploding with a dreadful fiery blaze. Shane, who was almost touching it, was scorched directly by the flames, turning into a fiery human being and caught in the fire. However, Shane's magic resistance skill seemed to activate, and the protection effect of the Holy Sword was also triggered, allowing Shane not to suffer any harm despite being bathed in flames, not even feeling the slightest warmth. Before long, the flames disappeared. The demon dog, pierced by the Holy Sword, fell lifelessly onto the charred ground, all the flames on its body having extinguished. The ground beneath it gradually stained red with blood, leaving only some grasses nearby burning gently. Acquired skill, assassination. Would you like to learn? Having successfully slain the demon dog, Shane acquired a new skill. Assassination. Passive skill. When executing an attack in hidden, lurking, or ambush states, it increases the probability of a one-hit kill. When in hidden, lurking, or ambush states, it has a high probability of detecting the enemy's weak points. Undoubtedly, it was also a rather practical skill, and Shane elevated it to level 10 in an accelerated heartbeat. Thanks to these skills, the situation went smoother than I imagined. Shane withdrew the holy sword from the deceased demon dog and instinctively stepped back. After his second time slaying a demon, Shane had grown somewhat accustomed to it, though the blood scent still seemed to awaken some psychological trauma, making him hesitant to get too close. But I can't just leave the corpse lying there. Otherwise, it will surely attract other demons drawn by the blood scent. Considering this, Shane endured his discomfort, first covering the blood with nearby soil and then dragging the demon dog's body into the cave. The cave was filled with the smell of wild beasts, extremely unpleasant, and littered with bones and rotten flesh, seemingly the remains of the demon dog's victims. No wonder you chose to sleep outside. It's so foul-smelling in here. Shane felt like crying, but held back his tears. At last, Shane still didn't choose to turn around and leave. To avoid sleeping out in the wild, full of demons, Shane decided to endure the smell. Rather, with the smell being so strong here, it should cover his scent just fine and prevent any demons from finding him. Shane continuously kept an eye on the responses from the enemy detection skill feedback in his mind, so he could be aware of if any demons came looking. But as he kept watching, growling, without any surprise, Shane's stomach started growling frantically, draining all his strength. Now that I think about it, I haven't eaten anything all day. Though in the forest, Shane had gulped down a lot of water thanks to a small stream he found. He hadn't had anything besides water today. I'll starve to death at this rate. He needed to find something to eat. But in a place like this, what could he possibly find to eat? Do I really have to go out hunting? Competing for survival with demons in the middle of the night? The thought made Shane feel uneasy. The next second, Shane turned his head silently and looked to the side. There lay the body of a demon dog. Shane tightly stared at the demon dog's corpse, and after undergoing a series of complex internal changes, he sighed deeply. This second life's start is ridiculous. After saying that, Shane resignedly picked up the holy sword and went to the demon dog's side, cutting off chunks of its meat. To fill his stomach, now was not the time for disdain. Anyway, the holy sword can resist negative states. I don't have to worry about poison. Shane decided to bite the bullet. Of course, eating raw was impossible. He could never eat demon meat raw in this life. In order to cook the hard-won meat, Shane left the cave, collected some dry twigs from the nearby bushes, piled them up, and skewered the demon meat. As for the fire, there was no need to worry about that. Before dying, the demon dog unleashed a fierce blaze, igniting nearby weeds, and those weeds were still burning slowly now. With local materials, Shane successfully lit a campfire, cooked the demon dog's meat, and put it in his mouth. Terrible. The bitter expression on Shane's face was like chewing wax. But without salt, soy sauce, or any condiments, it seemed natural for the cooked meat to taste bad. Moreover, chewing wax was better than eating dirt, and ultimately Shane stuffed his belly full. Afterwards, Shane extinguished the campfire, buried the remains and the demon dog's carcass with sandy soil, and finally returned to the cave to find a comfortable spot to lie down. Perhaps because it was the demon dog's lair, the temperature was quite warm, in fact a bit stifling, so Shane wouldn't freeze. Shane placed the holy sword beside him, gazing at the night sky outside the cave. Tonight seemed moonless, yet there were numerous stars adorning the night. Watching the night sky, sparkling with many shining stars, Shane's tense mind finally relaxed somewhat after a whole day. This world is not entirely without its merits. At least, this night view couldn't be seen in the previous life, could it? Even if Shane completely forgot his previous life, with almost all memories lost except for common knowledge, he still remembered that in the big cities of his past life, stars were seldom seen. And I was just an ordinary person in the past life. Really don't know why the goddess summoned someone like me to be a hero. Could it be because he could activate cheats? But weren't those cheats given by the goddess? Shane didn't understand. Come to think of it, I don't even know the goddess's name. Recalling the beautiful goddess, who didn't seem to belong to this world both in reality and perception, Shane couldn't help but fall into contemplation. Soon after, Shane inadvertently fell asleep. The next day, Shane awoke from his dreams and left the cave, continuing to find the way out of the forest. To avoid losing direction again, this time, Shane realized that if trouble is unavoidable, then no longer would he avoid demons by changing direction. He began actively heading toward some of the demons' locations. Thanks to this, Shane encountered many demons. He came across a poisonous boar capable of releasing lethal miasma. He also encountered a black serpent that could transform the surrounding terrain into swamps. There was also a demon herd, relentlessly charging and attacking. These encounters brought Shane numerous crises, even with the holy sword in hand. But amidst such dangers, Shane also acquired various skills as a blessing in disguise. While being eroded by the poisonous boar's gas, Shane learned abnormal state resistance. When almost being smothered alive in the swamp, Shane learned undying. During the demon herd's onslaught, Shane carelessly lost his holy sword, only to ultimately learn extreme transformation. Abnormal state resistance. Passive skill increases resistance to abnormal states. Undying. Passive skill enhances recovery capabilities and the effects of recovery type abilities. Provides some resistance to instant death attacks and abilities. When unable to maintain life signs, by consuming magic power, life signs can be forcibly continued. Extreme transformation. Active skill directly affects the life level. When used, enhances all abilities with effect determined by the amount of magic power consumed and the skills level. Each of these skills was very useful, especially undying and extreme transformation. One allowed Shane to maintain life signs even when completely submerged in a swamp, ensuring survival even without breathing, serving as the ultimate life-saving skill. The other was Shane's first active skill, enabling him to achieve superhuman feats, like jumping to the top of a tree 10 meters high in one leap. Truly astonishing. It was this skill that made Shane feel a power he had never experienced before. That power was magic power. It seemingly was the force used to wield skills and magic. By consuming this power, Shane could use active skills like extreme transformation and undying, which required magic power consumption. Truly a dreamy force. And by utilizing magic power, Shane also gained the magic guide and magic recovery skills. Magic guide. Passive skill. Drastically enhances magic power. Drastically enhances the effects of magic. Magic recovery. Passive skill. Consumed magic power automatically recovers. These two skills made Shane finally feel that he was indeed different. Feeling magic power and using it made Shane realize he had truly entered a world of swords and magic. This caused Shane to finally feel a bit of anticipation. I wonder if I can use magic. With this expectation, Shane encountered numerous demons, knocking down quite a few, thoroughly adapting to combat, and gradually settling into life in the forest. Time kept slipping by. Before he knew it, 10 days had passed. On this day, in one corner of the forest, Shane, in tattered clothes and wielding a dazzling holy sword, faced off against the enemy. Roar! Roar! A group of demons, wielding clubs and covered in hair, each with a single horn and a sinister appearance like evil ghosts, roared one by one and charged at Shane. Each one of them was robust in build, resembling gorillas. Their presence resonated with a ferocious aura, just like the fierce bird with a human face and serpent body Shane encountered before. By now, Shane knew that the aura was magic power. These demons also possessed magic power and could use it not only to enhance their strength, but also to increase their resistance to injury. Some demons could even expend it to breathe fire and lightning, akin to using magic. They were extremely dangerous. During these days, Shane encountered demons that could petrify targets they gazed upon, and even demons that could curse and corrode the enemy's flesh. It could be said that if not for possessing max-level skills like physical resistance, magic resistance, and abnormal state resistance, along with the protection of the Holy Sword, Shane wondered how many times he might have died facing these demons. Now, in front of these beasts, Shane no longer felt fear. Seeing the rush of unicorn demons, Shane advanced instead of retreating. Evolve. While running, Shane unhesitatingly used the extreme transformation skill. In that moment, the max-level extreme transformation provided Shane with an enormous boost, causing his abilities to rise explosively. Whoosh! Instantly, Shane's speed increased exponentially, and like a blur, he dashed into the crowd of demons. Slash! The holy sword shone with brilliant light, and in an instant, it sliced through the leading unicorn demon, cutting it in half and spilling blood on the ground. Roar! Roar! The unicorn demons roared angrily, each lunging forward with whirling clubs and generating howling gales. The shadows of the clubs were as lethal as deadly weapons, crazily attacking Shane. In response, Shane seemed to have eyes all over his body, moving like the wind. He constantly shifted, sometimes charging forward, sometimes retreating swiftly, veering left or right, and even ducking low or leaping high, perfectly evading every incoming attack. With enemy detection constantly alerting him to each demon's position, and aided by the evasion skill, Shane was essentially untouchable. Coupled with the military god skill granting Shane godlike combat capability and intuition, Shane's figure soon became completely invisible. Only a gust of wind continuously blew back and forth, making fools of the demons and filling them with shock and rage. Simultaneously, the radiant sword light from the holy sword flashed unceasingly, sweeping back and forth. Slash! 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 As the battle progressed, unicorn demons perished one after another under the deadly sweep of the holy sword, their bodies reduced to remnants in pools of blood. This kind of fighting power was a world apart from 10 days earlier. All of this was thanks to the series of skills Shane had mastered. Now Shane had mastered a full 13 max-level skills, including Heaven's Grace and Supreme God's Blessing. Shane possessed 15 skills in total, a stark contrast to when he first arrived in this world 10 days ago, especially with the military god and extreme transformation skills. One imbued Shane, who had never fought before, with the combat prowess of a true military god, while the other provided comprehensive amplification and enhancement. Thus, combined with the Holy Sword's power, Shane ascended directly to new heights, almost achieving divine status. Not to mention, Shane even leveled these two skills to their maximum, making the effects incomparably different from when they were at level 1. Even so, Shane still had many skill points left. After 10 days of continuous combat, Shane raised himself to level 10, acquiring a total of 1,000 skill points. Even after maxing out 13 skills, he had only used 130 skill points, leaving 870 skill points unused. So, based on the progress he had made, Shane could confidently say he had fundamentally transformed from his previous self. However, I'm not sure if I should be pleased to be stuck roughing it like this every day. Shane felt conflicted, not sure when he stopped fighting, wiping off the blood on the holy sword and sighing. All around him, the unicorn demons lay in a sea of blood, slaughtered without exception. As for Shane, he was unharmed and untainted by a single drop of blood. This was understandably due to the psychological scar from his first day in the other world, making a certain fallen hero utterly terrified of being close to blood, consciously avoiding splatters and puddles on the ground. Recalling the past days of dining and spending nights in the open, being frightened awake by demons' attacks in the middle of the night, and sometimes forced to slice off demon meat to eat from hunger, Shane felt an urge to cry. When will these days end, Lady Goddess? Shane sighed deeply, but his hands didn't slow down, starting to cut up the surrounding unicorn demons to select the edible parts. 10 days were more than enough for Shane to hone some wilderness survival skills, and he didn't mind eating demon meat at all. After all, with the abnormal state resistance skill, not to mention the Holy Sword's negative state immunity and purification effect, there was no fear of upsetting his stomach. Of course, whether it tasted good or was desirable to eat was another matter entirely. This is forcing me to become Master Bear. In frustration, Shane sliced a unicorn demon in half. At that moment, screech! With a sharp cry, a shadow passed over the sky. As enemy detection reacted, Shane looked up immediately and saw a demon. Seeing that demon, Shane was first startled, then his eyes lit up. Because Shane had thought of something. He thought a way to escape this forest. At this moment, above the forest, a dark shadow glided leisurely through the air. The true form of the shadow was a creature with the body and sharp claws of a lion, the head of an eagle, and a pair of wings resembling those of an eagle, a demon born from combining a lion and an eagle. It was none other than a rather famous demon, a griffin. The griffin was recognized as a formidable demon, possessing the lion's bravery and strength, alongside the eagle's speed and wings, making it rival even flying dragons and sometimes even surpass them. Therefore, even in the past world, griffins were a well-known phantom beast, and in this other world, they too were a force not to be underestimated. Such a griffin, it seemed, hadn't appeared here because it discovered prey, but was merely passing by, flying quite leisurely, completely unaware that it had caught someone's eye. Shane watched the griffin flying overhead from high above. If I could ride on that griffin, I should be able to fly out of this forest, right? Shane had this thought in mind. The more he thought about it, the more tempted he became. Wanted to leave this forest as soon as possible. This was the best method Shane could think of. Missing this opportunity would be a great pity. During these 10 days, apart from the man-faced serpent bird he first encountered, this griffin was the flying demon Shane found most suitable for riding. It wasn't that Shane hadn't encountered flying series demons during this time, but those were either too small to ride or too oddly shaped, impossible to mount. Only this griffin had the perfect build to be ridden. All right, thinking it over, ever decisive and quick to adapt, Shane hesitated no longer. Evolve. Immediately, Shane activated the extreme transformation skill, letting magic power swiftly circulate within his body, transforming into strength, granting him a superhuman physique. Next, Shane squatted deeply, gathering all his strength in his legs. Thanks to the effects of his level 10 military god skill, which allowed him perfect control over his body, Shane easily focused all his power in his legs. The next second, bang! With a loud explosive sound, Shane shattered the ground beneath his feet, sending a gust of wind and dust flying, shooting into the sky like a rocket. Screech! High above, the leisurely flying griffin was startled by the sudden loud noise, then saw a figure shooting toward it like an arrow. The trajectory was aimed directly at itself. Boom! Before long, a muffled sound echoed in the sky above the forest. The griffin felt itself being heavily struck, squawked in pain, and its entire body tumbled mid-air, nearly losing its flying ability. Once the griffin stabilized itself, flapping its wings to fly steadily again, it immediately noticed the odd presence on its body. On the griffin's back, in an unknown time, a figure had landed. Succeeded, with one hand gripping the holy sword and the other clutching the griffin's fur. Shane laughed, now fully riding on the griffin's back. Skill acquired. Riding. Do you wish to learn? As this message flooded his mind, Shane hadn't yet made a choice when the griffin finally reacted. Screech! Realizing what had happened, the griffin cried out in anger as magic power surged from its body, transforming into a wave. A tornado formed on the griffin's back. The griffin's magic power turned into a tornado, carrying endless wind blades, wildly sweeping over its body. Shane's expression changed, instinctively gripping the fur on the griffin's neck tightly. The tornado swept from the griffin's body with tremendous force, brushing against Shane's body. If it were an ordinary person, they would certainly be blown off and shredded to pieces by the winds inside the tornado in an instant. Shane, possessing level 10 skills of physical resistance and magic resistance, and under the protection of the holy sword, wasn't shredded but couldn't avoid being blown off the griffin's back. However, Shane instantly learned the riding skill he'd just acquired, raising it to the highest level without pause, granting him the most advanced riding techniques. Thus, Shane wasn't blown away by the tornado. Instead, He immediately squeezed the griffin's body tightly with his legs, gripped its mane with all his strength, and lowered his body, resisting the tornado's power with all his might. Tear! 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 Instantly, Shane's already tattered clothes were continuously torn and shredded by the tornado. Yet, Shane continued to ride steadfastly on the griffin's back unharmed. Screech! Noticing this, the griffin screeched in extreme frustration, flying wildly back and forth midair, trying to shake Shane off. Unfortunately, Shane was like a highly skilled rider, firmly controlling himself on the griffin's back, adjusting his position, shifting his weight, lowering his body, and occasionally sitting upright, mastering centrifugal force and balance perfectly. Behave yourself. Eventually, still maintaining control over the griffin, Shane raised his hand holding the holy sword, flipped it, and struck the griffin's head with the hilt. Thud! Amidst the dull thud, the griffin let out a whimper. Simultaneously, skill acquired. Tame? Do you wish to learn? Shane paused momentarily, then quickly learned the newly acquired skill, advancing it to the highest level. At that moment, realization dawned in Shane's eyes as he pressed a hand against the griffin's back, beginning to channel his magic power into it. This magic power was infused into the griffin's body at a specific frequency and flow path. Screech! Screech! The griffin, which had been enraged by the pain, suddenly let out sounds of comfort, its struggling weakening. Witnessing this, Shane felt a surge of joy, promptly using the same method to continually infuse magic power into the griffin, causing its cries to grow more content, less resistant to Shane. After some time, the griffin completely ceased its resistance, no longer opposing Shane's riding, instead crying to Shane as if requesting more magic power. What? You want more? Shane chuckled, speaking to the griffin beneath him. If you're willing to take me out of this forest to the nearest town, I'll oblige you. Upon hearing this, the griffin squawked a few times, seemingly in agreement, flapped its wings, and set off flying in a certain direction. Understanding dawned on Shane as joy spread across his face. Together, the man and the beast swiftly soared toward the forest's edge. On this day, a griffin crossed half a forest, carrying a human, continuously flying above the forest. During this time, no clueless demons came to harass them, because most demons wouldn't fly, and those that could seemed afraid to provoke such a high-level demon like a griffin, allowing Shane to pass through half the forest unimpeded, making traveling efficiency higher than the past 10 days combined. This made Shane increasingly joyful and hopeful about escaping, thus becoming more and more expectant. Of course, Shane didn't break his promise, constantly infusing magic power into the griffin beneath him, making the griffin fly faster and cry out more comfortably. Evidently, Shane had completely won over the griffin's heart with this move. This prompted Shane to take a look at the effect of the tame skill. Tame. Active skill. Uses magic power in a specific way to achieve the effect and purpose of taming demons. The higher the level, the higher the demons that can be tamed, and the more rare and powerful demons can be tamed. This skill, as soon as you look at it, you know how useful it is. So, Shane was more diligent in infusing magic power into the griffin, making the griffin also fly more diligently. Naturally, this caused Shane to consume a lot of magic power. However, due to the skill Magic Guide, Shane's magic power was quite abundant. If, in a normal state, Shane's magic power was 100, then after the amplification effect of the Magic Guide skill, his magic power would become 1,000, with the increase reaching no less than 10 times. And this was only with Magic Guide being at level 1. So, after Shane maxed out Magic Guide, his magic power increased many times over, and as the level increased, the amplification became greater and greater, allowing Shane to use the Extreme Transformation skill quite freely. In such a situation, coupled with the effect of Magic Recovery, Shane's magic power would recover at the fastest speed while being consumed, especially after maxing out The magic power Shane consumed would almost be fully recovered within a second, quite unfairly. In light of this, Shane didn't need to worry about lacking magic power. Even when consuming large amounts of magic power continuously like this, his magic power would still be full, as if it hadn't been used at all. Given this, Shane could keep infusing magic power into the griffin to tame it and have it carry him in flight. After quite a lengthy period of flying, Shane finally saw the forest boundary line. Do we finally come out? Looking at the vast plains beyond the forest edge, Shane became exhilarated. 10 days, I've finally left this damned forest. Shane couldn't wait to meet people other than himself, eat food from human society, instead of constantly dealing with demons, eating demon meat, and playing the survival game in the wild. Screech! The griffin cried out as though it could sense Shane's thoughts, its wings quivering once more, increasing speed again. I must say, the griffin's speed was truly considerable, almost comparable to fighter jets from the previous world, which allowed Shane to cross the forest that took 10 days to see the end of. It said that griffins have the instinct to predict the weather and can fly in any condition. In some mythological tales, there are even mounts of god spirits. Indeed, not just legends. Shane praised it, and the griffin made a proud sound, flying even faster. Then, at an unprecedented speed, Shane hurried along and left the forest after half a minute, entering the vast plains. Upon entering the plains, Shane began to see people in succession. There were people traveling on what seemed to be artificially made roads. Some were riding carriages, some were on horses, appearing to be merchants or possibly soldiers or knights. In corners of the plains, Shane could faintly see several pastures and farms. However, the griffin's presence seemed to cause a slight commotion, inciting some fear among the people below, resulting in awkward actions. Some soldiers and knights even prepared bows and arrows, on guard for a sudden griffin attack. Only, they probably hadn't noticed there was a human on the griffin's back. Shane felt an urge to go down and communicate with those people. But appearing with a demon like this might provoke unnecessary hostility. I don't know how people in this world perceive demons, so being cautious is better. If attacked because of moving with demons, then it would be quite a loss. I'd better head to the town first. Suppressing the impulse to land, Shane decided as much. Fortunately, a town soon appeared before Shane. It was quite an expansive town. There were high city walls around it, where numerous figures were moving around, likely soldiers or knights patrolling and guarding. All right, let's land around here. Shane made that decision directly. Otherwise, if they noticed a demon approaching, those on the city walls would surely launch an attack immediately, preventing the demon from entering the town. Screech! The griffin screeched high, descending very obediently. Before long, the griffin arrived at an isolated suburb, allowing Shane to jump off its back. You've worked hard. Shane patted the griffin's head, saying softly, All right, you can go back now. Hearing this, the griffin didn't comply, but instead kept calling out to Shane. What? Do you want to continue? Shane was slightly taken aback, then laughed. That's a pity. I need to enter a human town now. Can't take you along, nor let you keep enjoying, so you'd better go back. Shane told the griffin like that. Whether it understood or not, the griffin called out several more times to Shane, then seemed somewhat displeased, staring at Shane for quite a while before finally letting out a screech, flapping its wings, and flying into the sky. The griffin hovered around Shane for a while overhead, before giving a clear and resounding call, then flew away. Shane watched this griffin leave until its figure disappeared entirely on the horizon, then turned around, looking toward the town a short distance away. Otherworld, I'm coming. Leaving those words, Shane began walking, appearing somewhat impatient, toward the town. Oh! Standing on a street full of foreign allure, looking at the scene before him, Shane could no longer hold back and let out a sigh-like sound. The scene that entered his view was enough reason for him to do so. At the moment, Shane had already entered the town, standing on the street in front of the city gate. All around were medieval-style stone and wood buildings. On the street, there were people riding horse-drawn carriages or carrying luggage, dressed in vintage corseted clothing and Greek-style attire. The ground was paved with cobblestones, and the roads were intersecting. Various shops and stalls were selling all sorts of goods, with people's shouts and noises rising and falling, creating a bustling marketplace scenery that made Shane feel as if he'd returned to ancient times, rather than having been reborn in another world. Except for one scene. That was, on the street, apart from various civilians and merchants, there were also people carrying weapons, fully armed, looking fierce and exuding a murderous aura. Some of them were soldiers patrolling the streets, strictly on guard. However, among these people, the majority were those with disheveled equipment, covered in dust, some even reeking of blood, carrying heavy backpacks as they came in from outside the town or were preparing to go out, clearly ready to go on a killing spree. The existence of these people told Shane that this was not ancient times, but truly another world. After all, among them, there were people transporting the corpses of large demons. Whether they intended to sell or bury them, he did not know. Thanks to these people, Shane was able to enter this town so smoothly. Otherwise, given his current appearance, it was highly possible that the gatekeeper soldiers would have stopped him. 10 days of wild survival in the forest had left Shane not only in tatters, but his clothes had turned into rags due to high-altitude struggles with griffins, barely able to cover his body. With this appearance, if not for the presence of dusty and even badly scarred people continually coming in from outside the town, Shane might have been stopped. Besides, entering the town seemingly required a fee. Before entering the town, Shane saw merchants and civilians handing over some money bags and currency to the gatekeeper, then being allowed in. At that time, Shane thought that, being penniless, he would be unable to enter the town. To his surprise, the gatekeeper only took one look at Shane and let him pass directly. Adventurers don't need to pay an entry fee. Go right in. That was the reason given by the gatekeeper. In other words, the gatekeeper regarded Shane as an adventurer, and the so-called adventurers were probably those people exuding a murderous atmosphere, constantly heading in one direction nearby. Right? Adventurer, huh? Shane became a bit exhilarated. This was a popular profession in other worlds. After all, earning a livelihood by completing others' commissions and tasks was a dream career renowned among those with otherworld dreams. Shane could not possibly be unaware of it. Then, is there an adventurers' guild here too? Thinking of this, Shane couldn't help but step forward, following the surrounding adventurers in the flow of people. It was worth mentioning that Shane was carrying an obviously beast-hide-made long package. Naturally, inside was Shane's holy sword. This was a preparation Shane made before entering the town. There was no helping it. The holy sword was too conspicuous in many ways. If he brought it in just like that, it would likely make Shane the center of attention instantly and attract others' coveting and greed. So, Shane wrapped the holy sword in beast hide that he originally used as a blanket to keep warm outdoors at night, carrying it in this way to avoid being coveted. Just like that, Shane followed the flow of people, along with a group of adventurers heading in the same direction, arriving in front of a building. It was a building distinctly different from others. It stood in a vast plaza with no other residences around. While it seemed only 4 or 5 stories high, it covered a considerable area, with a design and decor distinct from other buildings, appearing more unique. Hanging over the doorway of this building was a signboard. On the left of the signboard was a sword, on the right a flame, as if showcasing the symbol of sword and magic. In the middle was a line of text in otherworld language, Adventurers Guild. There really is an Adventurers Guild. Shane first smiled, then froze. Wait, how am I able to understand those words? Indeed, Shane could understand the otherworld language. Not only the text, Shane could also understand the language of the people in this world. Reflecting on the gatekeeper's initial words, Shane now realized that he had actually understood them at the time and could currently understand the words of the people around him. It said someone spotted a griffin in the outskirts. No way. A griffin? A griffin actually appeared. Such high-level demons only show up in the dangerous tree of forest, right? I hope such high-level demons don't fly over here. Yeah, I don't want to be called to deal with a griffin, demons of that level. The adventurers around were chatting like this, going in and out of the Adventurers Guild entrance. They were using a language Shane didn't know, but for some reason he could understand, distinguish the text, and even realized only now that the words he spoke had become otherworld language as well. Could this be a perk of being the rebirthed hero? Shane scratched his head. However, Shane didn't think too much about it. Instead, he felt it saved him a great hassle. Not having to worry about communication and interaction in the other world is a huge relief. With such thoughts, Shane stepped into the Adventurers Guild before him. Adventurers Guild, first floor hall. This was a vast hall without any surplus rooms. The hall was filled with adventurers in various gear, some gathered in groups of 3 or 5, sitting around tables and chairs in the hall, chatting lively about something. Others were clustered in front of a notice board, seriously examining sheets of parchment on it, while others were gathered at various counters, conversing with people dressed as staff, the level of bustle rivaling the outside streets. Shane's arrival did not draw any attention. Only a few people glanced at him briefly before resuming their affairs. Evidently, Shane, in his ragged clothes, did not present anything worth noting to adventurers. However, a few observant individuals did notice Shane's peculiarity. This was unavoidable, for it was Shane's first time here. Inevitably, he would look around, making it obvious he was a newcomer. "Hey, you, the newbie over there. The counter is over there. If you want to process something, go there. Don't wander around." A burly man drinking shouted at Shane impatiently as he passed by, pointing the way with quite a rude attitude, yet showing a warm heart contrasting completely with his appearance and behavior. "Thank you." Naturally, Shane could see through this and, after smiling at the man, headed towards the counter. And when Shane reached the counter, the guild staff immediately attended to him. "Welcome to the Lamigian Adventurer Guild. How can we help you?" A young lady with a quite pure and beautiful face sat at the counter, smiling at Shane as she inquired. This told Shane one thing. That is, this town is named Lamigian. Looking at the guild staff who smiled at him, Shane pondered for a moment, then spoke. "Excuse me, what procedures do I need to follow to become an adventurer?" Shane asked this question. Yes, Shane planned to become an adventurer. As a newcomer trying to make a living in this world, becoming an adventurer seemed like an unavoidable choice. Hence, Shane planned to try being an adventurer first, and then continue to plan his future actions. At the very least, he had to avoid starving to death, right? "Okay, you want to become an adventurer, right?" The guild staff smile did not fade, as if they had expected Shane's intention. "Then please allow me to explain the necessary details about adventurers and the Adventurers Guild." Saying this, the guild staff began to explain fluently. "First of all, you may already have some understanding, but let me first explain what an adventurer is and what the Adventurers Guild is." As Shane had previously understood, adventurers were those who engaged in adventuring activities and worked by undertaking various commissions. They were spread across all nations, and you could see their presence in all corners of the world. Initially, they appeared in the period right after the ancient war ended 1,000 years ago. To alleviate the various damages caused by the war, such a group of people appeared among the understaffed races, undertaking tasks for compensation from those commissioning the work. These people, after a millennium of development, became today's adventurers. Today, adventurers were an omnipresent existence in Omnipotensen, a group relied on by the high levels of all countries, deeply trusted by the people. And the Adventurers Guild was the organization that adventurers belonged to, responsible for managing adventurers and accepting commissions from various places and forces, categorizing them by difficulty and offering them to various adventurers for selection. In cities and towns across various nations, there is at least one division of the Adventurers Guild, with the headquarters located in the royal capital of the Mitra Kingdom, the origin of adventurers. The Mitra Kingdom is the country Shane was currently in, part of Lamigian, and it is also the largest known country. Shane was eager to learn more about this country, but the guild staff seemed unwilling to elaborate. Then, concerning the ancient war from 1,000 years ago and the various races mentioned by the guild staff, Shane also had the urge to inquire. Of course, regarding the latter, Shane at least understood it. Since entering the town of Lamidjan, Shane had seen all sorts of incredible beings along the way. There were beastmen with animal ears and tails, dwarves with large builds and short stature, even elves with pointed ears and extraordinary appearances. These races that existed only in legends from Shane's previous life now appeared naturally in the town, even within this adventurer's guild, mingling harmoniously with humans, exuding a fairy tale-like charm. This other world seemed to house more than just humans, as it also had various races. Considering the existence of gods and demon kings, it was not surprising. However, Shane was somewhat intrigued about the ancient war from 1,000 years ago. This seemed to be common knowledge in this world, as the guild staff did not seem intent on explaining it further. Shane had to suppress his curiosity and continued to listen. Under these circumstances, the guild staff began the important explanation. To become an adventurer, one must first reach the legal age of adulthood within their race. For humans and beastmen, that's 15 years. For dwarves, it's 50, and for elves, 150. One must also reach level 10 or above to meet the criteria for becoming an adventurer. Adventurers also have level distinctions. Adventurers at level 10 or above are first-class adventurers and receive a Black Iron First-Class Junior Medal from the Adventurers Guild. Adventurers at level 20 or above are second-class adventurers and receive a Bronze Second-Class Intermediate Medal from the Adventurers Guild. Adventurers at level 30 or above are third-class adventurers and receive a Silver Third-Class Advanced Medal from the Adventurers Guild. Adventurers at level 40 or above are fourth-rank adventurers and receive a Gold Fourth-Class Top-Level Medal from the Adventurers Guild. Adventurers at level 50 or above are fifth-class adventurers and receive a Platinum Fifth-Class Special Grade Medal from the Adventurers Guild. Adventurers at level 60 or above are sixth-rank adventurers and receive a Mithril Sixth-Class Celebrity Medal from the Adventurers Guild. Adventurers at level 70 or above are seventh-rank adventurers and receive a Blackluster 7th-Class Honor Medal from the Adventurers Guild. Theoretically, seventh-rank adventurers are the highest-level adventurers. Even in our Adventurers Guild, which operates worldwide, there are only 33 adventurers of this level. Among them, four have reached level 80 or above, and one is above level 90. Although they are still officially 7th-rank adventurers with a Blackluster 7th-Class Honor Medal, their status differs from other 7th-rank adventurers. They are treated lavishly by various countries, and some have even been made honorary nobles. They sometimes accept national-level commissions that can influence the state of a country, or receive direct commissions from royal families, enjoying great fame. We at the Adventurers Guild welcome anyone to join, looking forward to everyone being active on the world stage as adventurers. As long as one hasn't lost their blessing, we will never refuse. Hearing this, Shane raised an eyebrow. The term blessing was intriguing. Unaware of what Shane was thinking, the guild staff took out a tool and placed it on the counter. It was a tool with a floating crystal, looking like a small globe without a map. This is a magic tester, possessing the same effect as a level 6 identification skill. It can detect the levels of those below level 70 and can also detect skills below level 7. While it cannot detect unique skills or special skills, it can detect the presence of blessings, emitting white light to indicate a blessing and black light if not. The guild staff explained, "Please extend a hand and place it above the magic tester." Upon hearing this, Shane couldn't help but murmur internally. Clearly, if this magic tester emitted black light, his treatment might change drastically. What exactly was this blessing? According to the guild staff, it seemed to be a skill related to gods. Shane glanced at a skill in his skill list. Supreme God's Blessing. This seemed to be the blessing he had, right? Thinking of this, Shane calmed himself, extended a hand, and placed it over the magic tester. Buzz! In the next moment, the crystal on the magic tester emitted a glow, causing lines of otherworldly text to appear one after another above the device. Fortunately, the glow was white. Seeing this, the guild staff smiled slightly, then shifted their gaze to the text floating above the magic tester. Upon seeing it, the guild's staff froze. Level 10 at 20 years old and human, and not a single skill. The guild staff spoke up in surprise. Seeing this rather unexpected reaction from the guild staff, Shane's heart sank. "What's the matter? Did something strange happen?" Shane, feigning calmness, asked the guild staff, his tone seeming very puzzled, as if he hadn't realized anything unusual had occurred. "No, there's nothing strange." The guild staff said that with a smile still on his face, but naturally, Shane didn't believe him. Thus, Shane tried various ways to inquire from the guild staff, striving to gather intelligence without revealing his lack of knowledge about this world. It certainly wasn't easy, but it was the only thing Shane could do. For now, Shane didn't want to expose his extraordinary side, especially not his ignorance on common sense matters, as displaying too much could earn not just ridicule, but suspicion. So, after some laborious probing, Shane finally understood the situation. According to the guild staff, in this world, all life had levels, even gods were not exempt. The higher the level, the stronger the power and abilities in all aspects. Starting from level 1, with growth and practice, the level would gradually increase, maxing out at level 100. However, not everyone could reach the limits. Depending on one's potential and qualities, some people upgraded slowly, some quickly, some could reach higher levels, while others unknowingly halted their growth, and their level would rise no more. In light of this, in omnipotensin, those who could achieve higher levels at a younger age enjoyed higher status. And battle was the main means for leveling up. Leveling up occurred through gaining growth, so only after ample battle and practice could one level up. Defeating opponents too easily would greatly slow the upgrade speed. So the best way to level up was to fight opponents of similar strength or more powerful ones, especially deadly battles with demons, which most benefited leveling. Additionally, training could achieve the purpose of upgrading. As long as there was growth, leveling up was possible. Thanks to this, members of various races could reach a certain level after maturing, and as long as their qualities and potential were not problematic, no matter what race, they could reach level 10 upon adulthood. In other words, from a human standard, one should be able to reach level 10 at around 15 years old. Reaching level 10 by the age of 20 would indicate a situation of comparatively underwhelming potential. Of course, this was not shocking yet. Among adventurers, there were some who refused to be ordinary. Even with low aptitude and potential, they still wanted to become adventurers, fight demons, and strive to elevate their level. Therefore, even meeting human adventurers who only reached level 10 by 30 was not uncommon. But being level 10 and possessing not a single skill was somewhat startling. You see, a skill was an ability with various effects. As long as one had a certain gift and met the learning conditions, one could master skills and could use the skill points gained from leveling up to enhance the skill level. In this world, the only skills that couldn't be mastered through learning were unique skills and special skills. A unique skill was a one-of-a-kind skill owned by an individual, and there was no second skill with the same effect. Besides being innately possessed, some people suddenly awaken them during growth. The effects varied, and even utterly useless unique skills existed. Special skills were acquired under special circumstances, with varied effects, and what was known as blessings fell under this category. Both types of skills belonged to non-upgradable types, and they wielded their maximum effect when owned. Upgradable skills, akin to personal levels, depended on potential and quality to determine learnability. Some people easily mastered skills they were good at, while some people went their entire lives unable to learn certain skills, hence the emergence of individuals in various fields, especially skills with powerful effects, which severely tested personal qualities and potential. To learn them, usually quite harsh conditions needed to be met, and a considerable number of skill points were required, indicating a high learning difficulty. Fortunately, the number of skill points one could acquire upon leveling also varied, determined by individual potential and quality. The higher the individual's potential and quality, the more skill points gained upon leveling up, and the reverse for lower potential. Therefore, when nearing the depletion of potential, skill point gains would diminish. Yet, after intense training and deadly battles, upgrading could earn significantly more skill points, with a maximum of 100 points. This meant that neither levels nor skills could be upgraded equally by everyone like in a game. They both depended on individual potential and quality, which was reality. Still, where there are difficult-to-learn skills, there are also easy-to-learn skills. Generally speaking, even a person with the most ordinary talent could acquire some weapon skills by practicing weapons for several years. Like Shane's two-handed sword skill, generally, people practicing sword skills with two-handed sword-type weapons for several years could learn, and exceptionally gifted people might even learn in mere months or days. In such conditions, logically speaking, even if their standards were poor, they could practice up to level 10 and should master one or two skills. But Shane? Not a single skill. That's why the guild staff felt surprised. Only Shane knew. The reason his level was relatively low was because he had only come to this world 10 days ago. As for the skills, the reason for none was simply because the magic tester failed to detect them. Not only did Shane have skills, but he possessed an entire 17. One was a unique skill, another a special skill, and the remaining 15 were all level 10 skills. In other words, if following the guild staff statement that the magic tester could only detect skills below level 7 and couldn't detect unique or special skills, then it certainly couldn't detect any of Shane's skills. Due to this, the magic tester showed Shane as having no skills, creating the appearance of having no skills at all. This began to gradually catch the attention of the surrounding adventurers, causing them to look over. And Shane, having understood the whole cause and effect, couldn't help falling silent. It wasn't until this moment that Shane realized how abnormal his situation truly was. A low level was understandable, since Shane had only just arrived in this world 10 days ago. Rather, achieving level 10 in 10 days was already an incredible feat. If not for killing so many demons in the forest, he certainly wouldn't have leveled up so fast, would he? But in terms of skills, Shane's situation was quite unusual. Because of the Heaven's Grace, unique skill, Shane was able to easily acquire skills that would take ordinary people years, or even a lifetime, to master. Additionally, he would receive the maximum skill points with each level up, making it exceptionally easy to upgrade skills. The fact that the magic tester equipped by the Adventurers Guild could only detect skills below level 7 showed that the guild probably did not believe anyone could easily acquire skills above level 7. Furthermore, individuals with average talent would receive fewer skill points, and if a large number of skill points were needed to upgrade a skill, it would be virtually impossible to elevate the skill by much. How many people could have level-up skills? Even if one could own them, how many could an average person possess? Whether in terms of levels or skills, the extent of a person's growth depended on their aptitude and potential, which proved that even if someone exceptionally talented could fully master one skill, it was unlikely they could master too many. Humans could not be perfect. Even if they could effortlessly acquire skills in which they excelled, they could not easily gain skills in other areas, let alone upgrade them easily. At least, according to the guild staff, neither gods nor demon kings could receive a full 100 skill points with each level up, and at most, there might be a few occasions where they gained the full 100. Moreover, from the mouths of the guild staff, Shane also learned that different skills varied in the amount of skill points required to learn and upgrade them due to their effects. No one had ever only needed one skill point to learn any skill, let alone upgrading skills. Generally speaking, the more powerful a skill's effect, the more skill points were required to learn and upgrade it. Additionally, the higher a skill's level, the more skill points were needed for upgrades. However, due to the effects of Heaven's Grace, Shane received the full 100 skill points each time he leveled up, and needed only one skill point to learn and upgrade each skill. This was something even gods and demon kings could not achieve. Moreover, Shane now understood the terrifying power of his holy sword. Not to mention anything else, just the ability to increase his level by 100 seemed extremely daunting to Shane in his current state. It should be known that in this world, level 10 was level 100. Thus, wielding the holy sword, Shane was already equivalent to level 10 and could even stack more levels onto himself. Could I already be invincible in this world? This thought flashed through Shane's mind before he immediately dismissed it. Because, based on Shane's own feeling, though the Holy Sword's power was formidable, it was not enough to render him invincible. After all, besides the level, there were differences in skills too. A high level meant only that power, endurance, agility, and magic power were all heightened. However, a person's true strength could not be measured solely by their level, but also by their skills. A person with a weak physique but skilled in fighting techniques often triumphed over someone extremely physically strong but uninformed in combat. Although a high level meant more skill points could be acquired, enabling the learning and upgrading of more skills, not everyone had the talent to master numerous skills. The level enhancement bestowed by the Holy Sword would not grant Shane additional skill points. It only purely increased his level. Furthermore, Shane did not believe that the Demon King's skills would be inferior to his own. The Demon King might not have 15 level-up skills as he did, but perhaps the opponent possessed 150 level 7 or level 8 skills. Moreover, who knew if the opponent held some unfair, unique, or special skills? With such contemplation, it was clear that Shane was still far from being invincible in this world. Let it not be forgotten that Shane had only been in this world for 10 days. If Shane continued to grow in his current state, surpassing the Demon King in the future could almost certainly be considered a done deal. Not to mention, the Holy Sword not only bestowed level enhancements, but also skill level enhancements, and possibly other effects. Therefore, even if he could not be deemed invincible, Shane did not need to belittle himself. Of course, for now, the only side of Shane that others saw was the extraordinary. As he looked around and saw everyone quiet down at some point, fixing their gazes on him with astonishment, curiosity, or investigation, Shane sighed silently in his heart. Now, he must have become the topic of conversation for others. Forget it. Let's return to the main topic. Since I am an adult now and have reached level 10, I should be able to become an adventurer, right? Shane addressed the guild staff in front of him. Yes. The guild staff nodded immediately, picked up a quill and parchment, and began making some records. As he did so, he spoke. We will initially register you as an adventurer, but since your level is still low and you are a newbie, for your own safety, our guild will arrange for you to join an established adventurer team. This will allow you to become accustomed to taking on and completing tasks. If you can earn the recognition and recommendation of the adventurer team within a month, you will then be granted the official status of an adventurer and receive an adventurer's badge. That is to say, if within a month Shane could not earn the recognition and recommendation of the adventurer team, he would have to withdraw from the adventurer path. It made sense when one thought about it. Adventurers often faced life-and-death battles with demons and interacted with various clients, some of whom held very high status. To complete various tasks, knowledge and skills in many areas were required. It was unrealistic to think one could easily become an adventurer, complete a slew of tasks, and earn vast amounts of money as in games or novels. The Adventurers Guild, being an organization that spread across the globe, would not have reached its current status without a considerable reputation and fame. If its missions were easily ruined by incapable individuals or went unfulfilled for too long, public questioning would arise. Therefore, becoming an adventurer required passing assessments. This is your license, acknowledging your temporary right to accept tasks from the Adventurers Guild. You may enter and exit Lemidgen freely without paying entry fees. The license is valid for 1 month, so please keep it safe. The guild staff handed Shane a piece of parchment tied with a string, resembling a scroll. Please report to the guild tomorrow morning. The adventurer team assigned to you will be awaiting you here. Upon hearing this, Shane took the license and thanked the guild staff before leaving the guild. The adventurers present watched Shane's departure and began conversing once he exited the guild. From this moment on, the news of a newbie adventurer who had reached level 10 without any skills quietly spread within a small circle. Just as Shane anticipated, he would temporarily become others' topic of conversation. Shane naturally didn't know what would happen next. However, Shane could more or less guess a part of it. If possible, I really hope to have a simple and smooth first experience of life in the other world. With this thought, the slight excitement and elation that had been lingering in Shane's heart since leaving the forest had completely vanished without a trace. Basically, Shane wasn't someone who liked to act ostentatiously. Although he couldn't remember anything about himself from his previous life, Shane still retained certain aspects of his personality. Therefore, Shane knew himself well and was aware of what kind of person he was. He was someone who was curious about new things but didn't like overly stimulating events. If possible, he hoped to live a mundane life, not get involved in the hustle and bustle, nor become different from others, just quietly watch all sorts of new things amidst the crowd. However, on the other hand, if something irreversible really happened, Shane wouldn't blame the heavens or resent others. He wouldn't deliberately avoid it, but would accept it as something unavoidable. Therefore, for the extremely unbelievable matter of reincarnating into another world, Shane didn't have any special feelings, just an acceptance of it as an unavoidable thing, occasionally showing some curiosity when the situation was appropriate. Thanks to this, Shane's ability to accept things was very strong, or rather, he was good at facing objective facts and even better at finding joy amidst hardships. Even if he was curious about the adventurer industry and the customs of the other world, he never wanted to attract attention or, like the protagonist in a novel, make a great name and career in the other world, leave his mark in history, and change his past ordinary and dull life. In other words, Shane actually hoped more to live a plain and peaceful life. Even if reincarnated into the other world, having a second life, becoming the legendary hero, and being entrusted by the goddess to defeat the Demon King, he didn't want to act too conspicuously. If possible, Shane planned to become an adventurer in an ordinary manner, complete various commissions and tasks, gradually level up and improve his strength, and wait for the right moment to find an opportunity to defeat the Demon King and fulfill his mission. Moreover, Shane even hoped he could defeat the Demon King quietly and unknown, before everyone even reacted. By then, perhaps people in this world would be extremely surprised and greatly shaken, but no one would know Shane did it, allowing him to continue living his second life in this world, hiding his merits and reputation. That was what Shane wanted to do. Ambitious people might despise such a Shane, thinking he got reincarnated into the other world, became a hero, had such cheat-like capabilities, yet lacked a bit of ambition, which was really wasting his fortunate encounter. Those who fantasize about having such a life, like a protagonist traversing to the other world to unfold a grand life, might also complain about such a Shane, considering he got what others dreamed of and still was so unprogressive and despicable. However, Shane was such a person, not seeking thrills, nor wanting to achieve fame and fortune, just hoping to live a stable and peaceful life, and that was enough. Making a living from adventurer work, if possible, also traveling around this world, seeing all sorts of new things, then steadily leveling up, isn't it possible to live such a life? Shane sighed like this while walking down the busy road. Shane didn't notice at all that a person happened to pass by him, and by chance heard what he had said, thus stopping. "Hey, adventurer over there, you seem to be saying something quite interesting, huh?" When such a pleasant voice reached Shane's ears, he looked blankly for a moment, halted, and turned to look at the source of the voice. This glance made Shane stunned, because a beautiful girl came into Shane's view. She appeared to be only about 17 or 18 years old, 1 or 2 years younger than Shane, yet she was tall, standing over 170 centimeters, exuding a noble and elegant aura, making one feel as if seeing a young lady taking a walk, like a lady of a wealthy family. The girl had long, shiny black straight hair, red eyes, and wore a dress that perfectly matched her aura and was convenient for movement. Though the dress wasn't elaborate, the girl's overly beautiful appearance and extraordinary temperament enhanced the dress as if it were a princess gown from the royal court. As the saying goes, clothes make the man, and a saddle makes the horse. People need clothes, and Buddhas need gold embellishments. Supposedly, it should be the clothes that highlight the person, but in her case, it's the person highlighting the clothes, which is a bit incredible. This kind of girl was holding a snack similar to an unwrapped pancake, eating it bite by bite, her gaze cast on Shane, casually starting conversation with him. "You're an adventurer, right? Don't adventurers all wish to make a big name for themselves, to achieve something?" The girl asked with this kind of curiosity. Her words were not wrong. Basically, adventurers hoped to make a name for themselves so they could get into the sights of the great nobles and even the royal family, thus undertaking more high-level, high-difficulty, and high-reward commissions. It could be said that the thing adventurers needed most was fame. Having fame could attract more attention, gain more lucrative opportunities, eventually leaving a mark in history, which was something every adventurer pursued. Many people held expectations and yearnings for the adventurer profession because successful adventurers were as dazzling as stars, receiving hospitality from powerful forces and even countries, gathering money, fame, and status. Therefore, becoming an adventurer was a desirable thing for ordinary commoners and even for nobles. In this situation, Shane gave such a statement. No wonder the girl was curious. "It's just, may I ask who you are?" After a moment of silence, Shane surprisingly asked this question with a confused tone. He wasn't flustered upon attracting a pretty girl's curiosity and attention, nor lost his wits when a pretty girl suddenly talked to him. He didn't even feel any admiration, speaking eloquently to gain the girl's attention or setting a flag for a beautiful encounter. Instead, expressed confusion in a completely unromantic fashion. This made the girl raise her fine eyebrows and put down the snack in her hand. "Are you asking me to introduce myself?" The girl's attitude was a bit playful. "But you should know, not everyone can make me say my name, you know." The atmosphere, due to the girl's words, began to subtly change. At this moment, Shane's face turned stiff, and he felt a bit speechless in his heart. To Shane, an otherworldly traveler, the girl's words were undeniably arrogant. If it were in his previous life, it wouldn't be surprising if others saw her as a poser. Unfortunately, this was the other world of swords and magic, where gods, a demon king, nobles, and the royal family existed, and even species other than humans, so such statements might not mean much here. But it did indicate one thing, that this girl in front of him was either a deluded fool or a truly noble lady with an impressive background. And regardless of which it was, Shane did not want to get involved with her. Otherwise, according to typical story developments, endless troubles would surely arise subsequently. So, Shane made a very straightforward decision. "I'm really sorry. Please forgive my ignorant question. I'll take my leave now." Saying this, Shane bowed his head as if humbly, then quickly escaped as if his feet were greased. "You?" The girl was momentarily stunned. Clearly, she hadn't expected Shane to react this way. By the time she recovered, Shane was already blending into the crowd, out of sight. The girl stared blankly in the direction Shane disappeared for several moments, then suddenly burst into laughter. The laughter sounded like silver bells, extremely melodious and delightful. Such a scene captivated and enchanted the surrounding people, making it entirely reasonable for them to be mesmerized. However, the people around seemed completely oblivious to the stunningly beautiful girl among them, walking past as if she weren't there. Until, "Lady," just as the girl stopped laughing, a voice without any emotion and utterly monotone rang out. At some point, someone had parted through the crowd and approached the girl. If Shane had still been there, he would certainly have been surprised, right? Because this person who parted the crowd looked exactly like the girl, as if molded from the same cast, like a twin sister, identical in height, figure, hair color, and eye color. Only, unlike the former, this girl was expressionless, with no emotion whatsoever displayed, and dressed not in a gown, but in a maid's attire. If the girl were the whimsical, strolling noble lady, then this maid was the shrewd and capable attendant. "You've come, Lasha." The girl looked at the approaching maid, who looked identical to her, like a sister, and smiled warmly and happily. "Yes, I bought what the lady wanted." The maid, called Lasha, responded indifferently, holding a bag in her arms, from which emitted a fragrant aroma suggesting delicious food. It could be inferred that Lasha had been tasked by the girl to buy some tasty treats. However, seeing the girl's seemingly joyful and content expression, Lasha was a bit puzzled. "You seem to be in a good mood, Lady Lisha." Lasha accurately grasped the girl's mood. The girl, Lisha, apparently had no intention of hiding it. "Don't mind it. Just met an interesting adventurer." Lisha seemed still to be thinking about what had just happened, laughing cheerfully as she spoke, fleeing as if to avoid trouble simply because I didn't reveal my name, not for fear or reverence or because of knowing my background, is indeed the first time I've seen such a person. Hearing this, Lasha didn't inquire further. Although she didn't know what had happened, Lasha was accustomed to Lisha doing whimsical things whenever she felt inclined. Because the lady whom Lasha served, almost like a twin sister, was someone so carefree and prone to acting on whims. This must be another act driven by her whims, right? It's been a long time since I've seen the lady this happy. Lasha truthfully voiced her thought. Now that you mention it, Lisha couldn't help but slightly restrain her smile, reminiscing a bit. How long has it been since I last laughed this happily? Lisha couldn't remember, but she didn't dwell on it, and soon looked relaxed again. Speaking of which, Lisha looked again in the direction Shane had left, her eyes sparkling mildly. Something seems unusual about the magic power of that adventurer, and the package he carries seems to contain a familiar kind of power. Perhaps it's not my imagination? Lisha pondered thoughtfully. The reason she had approached Shane wasn't just due to a momentary whim after hearing his words, but also because of this particular reason. My cognitive interference didn't seem to affect him much. Otherwise, even if I initiated contact, he wouldn't have immediately noticed my presence and directed his gaze straight at me. Lisha mumbled to herself. Could it be he is? Perhaps thinking of something, Lisha's eyes grew cold and a bit dangerous. Lady Lasha, unaware of Lisha's thoughts, called her back to her senses. "It's nothing, let's go." Lisha smiled again and said to Lasha, "Of course. Looks like we'll have to linger in this town for a bit." With such thoughts, Lisha turned around and left. Seeing this, Lasha didn't ask anything further and quietly followed. From beginning to end, no one around noticed these twin-like girls, allowing them to slip away quietly like unnoticed ghosts. On the other side, unaware that he had been targeted, Shane continued to feel relieved. Good thing I was quick. Having run a distance through the crowd, Shane breathed a sigh of relief. With his current troubles unresolved, Shane didn't want to be dragged into new ones. Better find a place to rest and enjoy the first night in the human society of the other world. Deciding not to worry about troublesome things, Shane resolved to do just that. After 10 days living like a wild man, he really wanted to improve his quality of life. As for other matters, I'll deal with those later. So, Shane began to roam around this town. Shane wandered around Lamidjan until dusk. Thanks to this, Shane learned many things. For example, in this world, the common currency was gold coins, silver coins, and copper coins, not much different from many other worlds of swords and magic. A single copper coin had the purchasing power of buying an apple. 100 copper coins equaled a silver coin, and 100 silver coins equal a gold coin, making the value of a gold coin equivalent to that of 10,000 copper coins. Therefore, generally speaking, one gold coin was enough for an ordinary family of 3 to live on for a whole month and still have some left over. Of course, for ordinary families, having a gold coin was considered good, but that wasn't necessarily the case for adventurers and nobles. Because in this world, common items might not be worth much, but items related to magic were extremely expensive. For instance, in this world, there were magic potions that could take effect immediately and have magical effects that were diverse and miraculous, different from regular medicines that needed time to act and had less noticeable effects. Shane visited a store selling magic potions and discovered that even the cheapest life recovery potion required 3 gold coins for a single bottle, and magic recovery potions needed over 5 gold coins, prices that were extremely high. However, using such magic potions could rapidly restore injuries or magic power to a visibly noticeable extent, making the effect very apparent. So, in emergencies, having such a bottle of magic potion was practically equivalent to an extra life. And only those with the harmony skill could create magic potions. so the price of magic potions couldn't possibly be low. Besides magic potions, there were also items in this world that had magical effects. These were things one could use to unleash the magic embedded within, even without knowing how to use magic. Granted, only those with the creation skill could manufacture them, hence making them equally expensive. Naturally, there were magic weapons if there were magic tools. As the name implied, these were weapons capable of releasing combat-beneficial magic and all sorts of magical effects. They were weapons anyone could use, just like magic tools, only they were more expensive, and only those with the forging skill could create them. Such magical items could be said to be features of this world, making Shane dazzled and filled with curiosity. Moreover, whether magic potions, magic tools, or magic weapons, all required a certain precious mineral known as magic crystal as a material, which was one of the reasons for their high prices. The magic crystal was a mineral containing magic power and only appeared in rare advanced mineral veins, essential for the creation of magic potions, magic tools, and magic weapons. It could also be used to replenish magic power and serve as a resource for magic consumption. So it was a strategic resource constantly being developed and sought after by any force or country. Through various shopkeepers' introductions, Shane came to know a wealth of knowledge about this other world, gaining a preliminary understanding of it. Thus, to ensure he could survive smoothly in this other world, Shane thought he needed to plan his livelihood. Unfortunately, Shane had just registered as a temporary adventurer at the Adventurers Guild today, and the adventuring activities couldn't officially start until tomorrow. For now, he could only think of ways to get through today. Luckily, before leaving the forest, Shane had dismantled the group of unicorn demons, and, although he hurriedly subdued a griffin and left the forest, he managed to grab a few items in passing. Like the hide used to wrap the holy sword, which was very tough and unlike ordinary hides. It didn't break when touching the sword's blade and was excellent for keeping warm at night, so Shane kept it with him. When some shopkeepers identified the hide, they determined it was from a creature known as a drowning scale armored beast, which was incredibly tough. This creature was considered the hardest demon below level 50. Although it didn't possess extraordinary power, defeating it required using upper-level magic or very high-performance magic weapons to break its defense. Due to its defensive power, the hide of the drowning scale armored beast could be made into armor, sought after by many adventurers and even nobles. Those shopkeepers who identified the hide had eyes gleaming and even offered as much as 80 gold coins to purchase it. Shane didn't mind selling it. After all, the supposedly impenetrable creature was beheaded with one swing of Shane's holy sword at the time, and the hide was cut off without much effort. Shane didn't particularly treasure it. But for now, it was the only hide Shane had that could barely wrap the holy sword without tearing at the slightest scratch. So he needed to use it, naturally unable to sell it just yet. What Shane did sell wasn't the hide used to wrap the holy sword, but the horns from the group of unicorn demons that were the only other things he had with him. According to the shopkeeper, these are the horns of thorny horn demons that could reach level 30 upon maturity. The horns of such creatures could be used to create anti-poison magic potions and daggers. But because thorny horn demons were gregarious creatures, hunting a lone thorny horn demon was very difficult, making these horns quite a rare material. The shopkeepers kept marveling at Shane's luck in encountering a lone thorny horn demon, making Shane somewhat uneasy to tell them he didn't just hunt a lone thorny horn demon, but exterminated the entire group. In the end, the horn sold for 2 gold coins, ensuring Shane was not penniless. Having made his first earnings in this other world, Shane immediately bought clothes, replaced his tattered outfit, and successfully found an inn, staying at the price of 1 silver coin per day. After a full 10 days, Shane finally managed to stay in a place where humans should dwell. After checking in, Shane first took a long and thorough bath. During his time in the forest, Shane had only bathed a few times in the river, where there were also magical creatures. The night fell quietly like this. That feels so comfortable. Lying on the bed after a bath, Shane's body still carried steamy warmth, and his face was brimming with refreshment, clearly indicating how at ease he felt. Ah, I feel like all the day's worries have vanished. As expected, I'm more suited to this kind of peaceful life." Just as Shane expressed these feelings, a chuckle reached his ears. "You are the first hero to say such a thing." With that voice, the world began to twist. Then, before Shane realized what had happened, he found himself standing on the floor, having risen from the bed, and the inn room seemed to have been replaced, turning into a temple. In the center of the temple, before Shane, a familiar, breathtaking silhouette appeared in his view. "Goddess!" Shane's eyes widened. Yes, Shane had returned to the temple where he had first been summoned once more. "Even though it's only been 10 days since we last saw each other, you really do look like a different person compared to before." Looking at Shane, who was staring blankly at her, the beautiful goddess spoke these words. Whether in admiration or mockery was unclear. That melodious voice, as if capable of singing songs that would be remembered for ages, reached Shane's ears, leaving him speechless for an indeterminate time. However, the reason for this was definitely not that Shane was captivated by the absolute beauty of the goddess before him, to the point of being unable to extricate himself. Shane was simply a loss for words. There was no helping it. Why am I here again? Could it be that he died once more? Just as Shane was thinking this, the goddess seemed to see right through him and suddenly smiled. "Don't overthink it. You're not here because you died," the goddess explained. "You can check for yourself. This time, you were summoned with your body." It was only after the goddess mentioned it that Shane realized this fact. Indeed, unlike the last time he was summoned here, this time Shane was not present in an incorporeal form. Instead, he had come with his body intact, with his feet firmly on the ground, not suspended in midair like before. In other words, this time I was summoned while still alive. Shane looked at the goddess before him. "That's right." The goddess nodded and said, "Seeing that you finally emerged from the forest of demons, entered a human town, and even became an adventurer, settling into this world, I summoned you to say hello." Such an arbitrary motive made Shane really want to say, if she were so eager for him to enter a human town and officially settle in the other world, she shouldn't have thrown him into a forest full of demons at the start. And once again, those inner thoughts elicited a response from the goddess. "If I hadn't thrown you into the forest at the beginning, how would you have been able to level up or learn so many skills?" the goddess said with a faint smile. "And if you hadn't personally experienced your uniqueness, how could you have quickly realized how much more extraordinary you, as a hero, were compared to ordinary people?" This sentence made Shane's face fall. In other words, to ensure he fully understood how unique he was, the goddess had deliberately thrown him into a forest teeming with demons, rather than a town inhabited by humans, right? Wasn't she afraid he'd get eaten by the demons right away? As soon as this thought arose, the goddess's answer came immediately. "Of course, I'm not afraid," the goddess stated confidently. "With the protection of the holy sword, even if I threw you into the demon realm, you'd probably be fine, let alone a forest with demons only up to level 50. Upon hearing this, Shane couldn't resist any longer. "I say, Lady Goddess, can you read minds or something? How do you always know what I'm thinking?" Shane protested. "And don't act like none of this is your responsibility. Isn't it all you're doing? Whether it was the holy sword or the various skills, wasn't it all granted by the goddess?" Shane had been just an ordinary person, after all. As Shane was pondering this, the goddess surprisingly denied his assumption. "No, you've got that wrong." The goddess said, "Whether it's the holy sword or the skills, they are your own possessions. I merely awakened them for you." At these words, Shane was stunned. "My own possessions?" Shane was somewhat at a loss. Seeing this, the goddess began to explain. "The so-called holy sword is a power born from the concept of the hero, a characteristic only possessed by you otherworldly people summoned as heroes from the otherworld." With an extremely melodious voice like she was singing, the goddess explained. "Just like how someone in omnipotency can awaken their skills unique to themselves, referred to as unique skills, you otherworldly heroes also possess your own unique skills and even an additional trait over the people in omnipotency. Once summoned as a hero to this world, you naturally awaken your personal holy sword and unique skills. I merely sped up this process by awakening your holy sword and unique skills directly. If that were not the case, why summon heroes from the other world? If she could freely bestow powerful holy swords and unique skills at will, the goddess wouldn't have needed to specifically summon otherworldly people to defeat the Demon King. She could have simply chosen heroes from her own world. After all, since I, as a god, need to seek assistance from others to defeat the Demon King, it proves that I am incapable of defeating the Demon King myself, correct? The goddess stated straightforwardly, if I could casually grant others such powerful holy swords and unique skills, then I might as well defeat the Demon King myself, right? Why would I need heroes? The overly reasonable argument left Shane almost speechless once again. But on careful thought, this did make sense, didn't it? In your world, there seems to be a belief that gods cannot interfere in the course of mortal life. So even when a demon king wreaks havoc, gods can only watch and, at most, assist humans to defeat the demon king on their own, according to mythology, right? The goddess remarked with some amusement. Unfortunately, this isn't a world straight out of the mythologies, you know. Although there are many similarities, this is still reality, and there will inevitably be differences. What differences, you ask? For example, in this world, the divine race and the demon clan have been mortal enemies for countless millennia, constantly at war from long, long ago. The goddess spoke candidly. To us, the demon king is the greatest enemy. If we can annihilate them with our own power, we would have done so ages ago. There are no prohibitions against interfering in mortal life. On the contrary, the divine race often affects mortal life, causing many interventions. Therefore, in this world, to the life of mortals, God is a belief, but not something intangible. It undoubtedly exists. You're already aware of blessings, correct? The goddess pointed out. A blessing is the most common form of intervention we, the divine race, provide to mortal life. You've also received the blessing I granted, which is the only thing I've truly given you. Apart from the blessing bestowed by the goddess, everything else was Shane's own power. Whether it was the holy sword or the unique skills, those were inherently Shane's own and had almost no direct involvement with the goddess before him. In short, your abnormalities almost entirely originate from yourself, having nothing to do with me. As you might say in the world of your previous life, don't just pin the blame on me. The goddess's words left Shane speechless. Seeing Shane like this, the goddess smiled. Since we still have some time, let's chat a little about this world. With that, the goddess waved her hand, summoning a tea table and tea. In the beginning of the world, it was said that there were only two races in Omnipotensen. One was the divine race. The other was the demon clan. The divine race and the demon clan appeared in this world almost simultaneously and, like natural enemies, they were always in conflict. Unlike the demon clan, who were born with great power, although the divine race also possessed various kinds of power, compared to the demon clan who were created for battle, the divine race was not a race born solely for combat. God could do many things, could create earth and life, but when it came to power for battle, compared to the demon clan born for destruction, they were somewhat inferior. Moreover, the divine race had a limited number. Generally speaking, each deity had a specific office. Some governed life, some governed nature, others governed destiny, and some had duties like health, harvest, wisdom, and culture. But there were only so many offices, and there couldn't naturally be as many gods, nor could there be many deities governing the same responsibilities. Consequently, the number of gods was fixed from the very beginning, and only when a deity passed away could a new god potentially be born. With this in mind, the number of gods was very limited. In contrast, the demon clan had no such limitations. Over time, their numbers grew more numerous, the race prospered, and eventually completely overshadowed the divine race. To combat such a demon clan, the divine race began to create other races, resulting in the birth of humans, elves, beastmen, and dwarves, provided them guidance, and let them grow until they barely managed to resist the demon clan. Yet the demon clan was not content, and not only created magic, but also created demons. Indeed, Both magic and demons originated from the hands of the demon clan. That's why they were given the prefix demon. The word magic power also originated from the demon clan, showing that in terms of power, the demon clan was indeed more prominent than the divine race. However, putting aside magic, as for demons, although they were created by the demon clan, due to the demon clan not being as omnipotent as the divine race, the demons they created had very low intelligence. Sometimes, the demon clan themselves could not control the fierce nature of the demons. Although demons gradually propagated and eventually spread to every corner of the world, if they were not tamed, they would attack even the demon clan. Due to this, even having magic and creating demons, the demon clan couldn't directly overpower the divine race. Furthermore, the divine race created magic systems such as holy magic and support magic, resulting in neither side being able to subdue the other ultimately. But overall, compared to the divine race, the demon clan was still relatively stronger. The goddess, sitting at the freshly summoned tea table, spoke as she sipped the richly aromatic tea. That's why the divine race performed the hero summoning ritual to resist the demon clan, summoning heroes with unique traits from the other world to combat the demon clan. The ultimate goal was expecting the hero to defeat the demon king. While explaining this, the goddess also mentioned Shane, seated opposite her, who seemed to be savoring the tea. We of the divine race, although capable of numerous deeds, could not directly bestow power. Thus, we had high hopes toward heroes who naturally possessed a holy sword and generally powerful unique skills, hoping they could defeat the demon king someday. In this manner, the goddess explained various things to Shane. To this, Shane had a few questions. For instance, why couldn't the gods directly grant power? Shane posed his question. The goddess straightforwardly gave a response. Because the levels and skills are concepts inscribed in the reason, even gods can't interfere. The so-called reason refer to the laws of the world itself, also known as the world's principle. Whether it be the divine race, demon clan, human race, or demons, they all have levels and skills. Based on personal quality, talent, and potential, the growth in various areas differs. All of these are concepts inscribed in the reason, or it's the world's rules itself. We of the divine race can interfere with phenomena and events, yet cannot interfere with the rules of the world itself, unable to meddle with the reason itself. The goddess explained, of course, if within the allowances of the reason, some interference may be possible. For instance, magic involves using magic power to intervene in the reason, thereby interfering with phenomena and events, ultimately forming power. That is magic. Moreover, some magic weapons, magic tools, and magic potions can temporarily enhance skill levels and personal abilities based on these magical properties. The holy sword you possess falls into this category. However, the interference with the reason is only possible within permitted limits. If it excessively disrupts the balance, then it could never be allowed. For instance, gods could grant humans weapons or tools that enhance power or could bless humans, but there is absolutely no way to directly enhance a person's level. Otherwise, people wouldn't need to upgrade or grow, and gods could grant it directly. As for weapons or tools that could directly enhance levels, they simply didn't exist in this world. So far, only the holy swords possessed by heroes summoned from the other world were capable of enhancing levels. In this world, at most, one could find tools that enhance a specific skill level or partially enhance a person's abilities. The goddess indicated this. That's probably because you are not originally from this world, so somewhat deviating from this world's reason regulations, right? Most heroes from the other world could awaken to very powerful, unique skills, perhaps for the same reason. Thus, gods desired to summon heroes. It's a pity that not every otherworldly person held the quality to become a hero. Otherwise, all otherworldly people would have been summoned without exception, right? The goddess nonchalantly spoke unsettling words. Shane rolled his eyes in silence, but was somewhat puzzled in his heart. Following this reasoning, didn't it mean he was summoned here to become a hero, not randomly chosen? but due to his special nature? That's about it. The goddess saw through Shane's thoughts, smiled, and said, "At least from ancient times to the present, there have been less than 10 heroes summoned to this world," which implied otherworldly people with qualities to become heroes were rare to such an extent. Shane was one of them. Incidentally, past heroes were all summoned from worlds different from yours. The goddess revealed even more astonishing facts. From a different world, the sudden fact made Shane pause in his action of preparing to drink tea, his face full of astonishment. This reaction made the goddess smile involuntarily. "You didn't hear wrong," the goddess laughed. "There are many different worlds unlike this omnipotensin. The world you were in during your past life was just one among them. The only commonality is that the worlds you inhabit are very ordinary, having no god, no demon, and no special powers. Therefore, they are completely independent entities, beyond even the reach of us of the divine race. We can only summon those with hero traits from those worlds within the limits allowed by reason." That's the extent of it. It was truly unexpected. However, thinking about it carefully, it seemed understandable. If God could casually summon people from other worlds, then the divine race wouldn't have needed to create the major races to resist the demon clan. They could have just summoned people from other worlds for help, right? Even though, in other worlds, those with hero qualities were extremely rare, not everyone could awaken their exclusive holy sword and unique skill, but in this aspect, people of this world face the same conditions. They wouldn't have a holy sword, and not everyone could have a unique skill. They could only obediently start training from scratch, gradually leveling up and learning skills to rise above. Most people in this world still had to follow this path. Hence, if considering just a matter of manpower, people from any world were the same. If the divine race could summon people from other worlds into this world, most of them would probably start training with no advantages, just like people in this world, with only a few awakening their own unique skills. Whether these unique skills could be used in combat was still unknown. Only those with hero qualities could awaken powerful unique skills and have their own exclusive holy sword. Thus, God only needed heroes and could only summon heroes. But the number of people with hero qualities seemed really small. From ancient times to now, less than 10 heroes have been summoned to this world, and every hero came from a different world. This meant that, at most, only one person capable of becoming a hero would appear in one world, and in many worlds, not even one appeared. Moreover, heroes can be strong or weak, the goddess said. In the past, the holy sword and unique skills that heroes awakened were all different. Consequently, some heroes would awaken holy swords and unique skills that were exceptionally powerful, while others were relatively weaker. This would inevitably cause a problem, which was, even a hero may not defeat the Demon King. Speaking of this, the goddess's eyes looked somewhat gloomy or even disappointed. Seeing this, Shane understood. It seems that none of the heroes summoned in the past were able to defeat the Demon King, right? Otherwise, if the Demon King had already been defeated, there would be no need to summon Shane. It was precisely because the Demon King was still at large that God had to continue summoning heroes. This showed just how powerful the Demon King truly was, as even the successive generations of heroes had not succeeded in defeating him. Then what about himself? Could he defeat the Demon King? Just as Shane was thinking this, the goddess's gaze turned toward him. She fixed her eyes on Shane. "I believe you will be the most promising hero to achieve this goal so far." The goddess spoke as if to herself. "After all, whether it's the holy sword or unique skill, I think you're ahead of all past heroes." Shane found himself unsure of how to respond to these words. Logically, receiving such an evaluation should be cause for joy, right? Unfortunately, you're not happy, are you? The goddess said with a mix of amusement and helplessness. In your world, novels and mythologies are rife with protagonists inherently possessing the strongest abilities or situations where the talentless rise against the odds. Even if I tell you that you're the hero with the most potential in all history, you would just find it strange, wouldn't you? Hearing this, the corner of Shane's mouth twitched. Could this goddess really see through people's thoughts? Being a goddess, Having a mind-reading ability was quite normal, wasn't it? Otherwise, he could try it out. Thinking this, Shane began to imagine some inappropriate scenes in his mind. At that moment, the goddess, who had a smile on her face, suddenly stiffened, a blush unavoidably appearing on her beautiful face. You, what on earth are you thinking? The goddess slammed the table forcefully and spoke in anger, startling Shane. You really can read minds? Shane stood up in fright. I never said I couldn't, did I? The goddess's face still retained a hint of blush. It seemed that this goddess was unexpectedly quite innocent. While Shane thought this in his heart, a gaze full of hostility was cast upon him, making his whole body shudder as he quickly focused, clearing all distracting thoughts and stopped imagining nonsense. Oomph. The goddess snorted coldly, stood up, and said, Let's wrap it up for today. I'll send you back. Saying this, without giving Shane a chance to react, the goddess waved her hand, causing the world to twist again. Wait, Shane called out hastily. You haven't told me your name yet. This was something Shane had wanted to know all along. All this time, Shane only knew her as the goddess, and now that he knew that this world had more than one god, but a divine race instead, he naturally wanted to know her name. And then, just call me Nian. After saying this, the goddess who called herself Nian snapped her fingers, and Shane, along with the twisted world around him, disappeared from the temple. In the inn room, Shane opened his eyes and found himself lying back on the bed at some point, as if he had never left. I'm back already? Shane seemed unsure, even wondering if what just happened was a dream. However, the lingering taste of delicious tea in his mouth told Shane that everything that had just happened was definitely not a dream. I should have asked more instead of messing around, huh? After all, Shane still had many things he didn't understand. However, speaking of which, the goddess looked quite cute when she was embarrassed. Shane smiled slyly. And so, the night quietly passed by,